Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and of course, continuing on with the Alien Review Marathon. Well, so after the horrible results, the hot mess, just the disastering results altogether of Alien 3, well, 5 years after Alien 3, Fox would once again bring us a new Alien film. And I think it's obvious because, well, you know, them trying to make up for Alien 3, because Alien 3, it was supposed to be the finale, the final film in the franchise. And, well, because our main character, Ripley, she sacrificed herself. She literally died. So, yeah, it seemed like that was it. Not to mention because, I mean, you know, the Wayland Company, you know, they still never got their hands on one of those xenomorphs and such. So what next? Well, again, because, you know, 5 years after Alien 3, Fox would make another Alien film to make up for the poor results of Alien 3, also milking the money and such. But, you know, because at least, like, when it comes to doing sequels, I've said this before, just if they're worth it, and if there's an idea for a good story for a film sequel, okay? That's what's important. And yeah, in 1997, we would get, and sadly, because this is where the franchise would be laid to rest for quite a while, again, from 1997, Alien Resurrection. Yes, Alien Resurrection. Well, now that I've finally have seen it and watched it, the first things I have to say about Alien Resurrection, I won't lie. I never lie on what I have to say about movies and reviewing them. I actually liked it. I don't think it was that bad. I think this is maybe a little better than Alien 3. I mean, I'm pretty sure I've seen some other people saying some positive things about Alien Resurrection. You know, I mean, of course it's not the best. I won't deny that. But overall, and, you know, even James Rolfe, aka the Angry Video Game Nerd, his review on this Alien film, he had some positive things to say. And, you know, it's good to watch, fun, and so on. And I think that the plot and the story, where it goes, yeah, I mean, what Alien Resurrection has seems like it could work, but overall, you know, if only it could have been, you know, more stronger and more better, you know. Yeah, but like I said, sadly, when this came out, it still wasn't received that good, and sadly, like I said, that's when the franchise would be laid to rest for quite a while, and especially, well, when it seemed like Ridley Scott, and especially that goes for Sigourney Weaver, and along with James Cameron, they were done with the Alien franchise. But yeah, and also, 1997 was for sure a big year for Fox, and the movies that they did coming out that year. There was this, Anastasia, you know, the animated film with Don Bluth and Gary Oldman, and also, and for the heck of it, because it's true, the Wiggles movie, because Fox did distribute that, okay? And the biggest one for Fox that year, Titanic. Yeah, so, I mean, at least, you know, they had some big hits that year, you know, despite the fact this one, sadly, did not, so. And not to mention because the writer of Alien Resurrection, Joss Whedon, yeah, and this is especially after another film that he did during the in the 90s, and it was a big deal at the time, Waterworld, yeah, from Universal Pictures. So he worked on that, and like I said, that was a big deal. And again, not long after he did Waterworld, he would find himself attached to the Alien franchise and giving us a story for the 4th installment. But thankfully, years later, Joss Whedon would find other great things to do, like, best examples, Firefly and Avengers, yeah, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, yeah. A lot of great stuff, a lot of great materials that he was involved in, yeah. But I'm sure as though Joss Whedon, and say what you will about Joss Whedon, I think for this, I'm sure he tried his best, and I don't see why Josh would, have not seen the past Alien films and have enjoyed them. So yeah, but again, overall, the first things I have to say about Alien Resurrection, again, I won't deny it. It's not the best, and yeah, and I'm pretty sure, this being very heavily mixed, but there are those, like myself, that quite enjoy this, and yeah, and also nice to see that James Rolfe, he feels the same way too. But anyways, so with that being said, and as always, read the description / the story. The saga continues 2,000 years after Ripley sacrificed herself for the sake of humanity. Her erstwhile, I think I'm saying that right, employers long gone. This time, it is the military that resurrects the one-woman killing machine through genetic cloning. To continue to escape. To escape, now Ripley must decide where her alliance lies. Alright, so getting into the film itself, yeah, because again, taking place 2,000 years after what happened in Alien 3, somehow the military got Ripley's DNA, and their attempt to resurrect Ripley, although of course cloning Ripley, in some ways bringing her back, and yeah, once again, Ripley being played by Sigourney Weaver. Also, she's sometimes called Ripley number 8, yeah, doing the fingers, yeah. So, Ripley number 8. So, obviously, she's the 8th clone, assuming, but about that when we get to that. So, anyways, and because, more on Sigourney Weaver, because, she, after Alien 3, she was done. Like, she was done with the franchise, and with what the story brought for Ripley, her arc and such. But, well, surprisingly enough, because, she agreed to come back for the 4th installment, and because, she was asked why she came back, what changed her mind, and she stated they basically brought a truck and dumping a lot of money. But there's more to that. Like, there's a really good reason, because, well, one sequence in specifically that she liked and convinced her to do this movie and return as Ripley, but obviously this time Ripley being a clone. So yeah, and she had some heavy involvement in this movie. I think, yeah, she was an executive producer, but yeah. So yeah, but overall, good to see Sigourney Weaver back, and I gotta say, because Sigourney Weaver as the clone Ripley in this, pretty interesting, and I think it's necessary, and it works, it's not the same Ripley that we know so well, not fully. This is a clone, and how she acts and stuff like that. And there's more to the clone Ripley because, well, she apparently, she still has the DNA of a human, but she also has DNA of the xenomorphs, yeah, and because they resurrected Ripley by cloning her, well, with her is the xenomorph that was in her chest. How was that even possible? And how did they get her DNA? Because, 2,000 years ago, when she sacrificed herself, and with the xenomorph inside of her, how was that possible? Well, assuming as though the military was lucky enough and found a way, I guess. So, the movie doesn't really explain that, how it was possible and they got DNA, and the fact that, well, because, the xenomorph being inside of her, but anyways. So, and they do extract the xenomorph that's inside of her, basically, the xenomorph that was inside of the clone of Ripley, turns out to be an alien queen, and, well, the military, keeping the alien queen hostage, and, as she grows, and, well, she can start producing and laying eggs, and there will be more, and, of course, coming from the eggs, the facehuggers taking a body as a host, and, of course, out pops the xenomorphs. And, the total of xenomorphs that so far are born and are kept in cells, total of 12, yeah. And aside from the alien queen. And, if if you couldn't figure it out early on what the military is going to do with the xenomorphs, well, basically, and to put it this, pretty much the same thing that the Weyland Company was trying to do. Yeah, and the military, they were close. They were close to succeeding, but of course, and if you know Alien, you know disaster is going to strike, and anybody who is trying to get their hands on a xenomorph and such, bring it back to Earth, always failing. So, yeah, and so they keep Ripley in a cell, too, and the cast of characters, well, like I said, Sigourney Weaver coming back as Ripley, this time Clone Ripley number 8. Also, the military people, well, there's, because... the first one I want to mention, he's just credited as the surgeon, and the surgeon... he was played by David S.T. James, a.k.a. Mr. Howell from iCarly. That's what I remember him best from, and I'm sure the same goes for you guys. But I've seen him in plenty of other stuff. I remember seeing him in one of the Transformers movies, and he's a good actor. He really is. There's also Vincent D'Estefano, however you say his last name, but I'm just going to call him Vincent, his first name. And throughout the entire movie, they just call him by his last name. Why couldn't you just stuck and called by his first name? Seriously. I've seen that in other movies, where sometimes characters would call other characters by their last names. Why? I mean, I don't know. But yeah, Vincent being played by Raymond Cruz. There's also the main scientist, Gaidaman, if I'm saying the name right. Being played by the one and only Brad Dourif, if I'm getting his last name right, aka the voice of Chucky the doll, yeah. And also from the Lord of the Rings movies. Like, he's such a great actor, and in this, well, what you would sometimes expect from Brad, because being over the top, and just, I think that's just how he is, and that's what he brings to any character that he does. And I'm sure the same goes for Chucky. I have no doubt about it. But overall, I think he was pretty good in this. We don't get that much of him, sadly, as he sadly meets his demise. Also, there's the General Perez, if I'm saying that right, played by Dan Hadia, if I'm getting that right. And there's also Purvis, being played by Leland Orser, I think so, yeah. And one of the other main scientists, doctors, Dr. Wren, being played by J.E. Freeman, yeah. At one point, they are expecting a shipment of human bodies. So, yeah, the human bodies can be used for the facehuggers to attach to the bodies and, them being the hosts. The mercenaries who deliver the human bodies, that's what they do. The cast of the mercenaries, an interesting group of colorful characters, and as I've stated before, the Alien franchise does not disappoint when it comes to a group of characters, like whether if it's soldiers or, or say, monk prisoners. We get to know each of them and their personalities, what they're like, and Alien Resurrection, I think, doesn't disappoint at that. Still does pretty good. So, the mercenaries, well, there's Elgin, who's, I think, kind of the leader of the mercenaries, being played by Michael Wincott. I think I'm getting that right. There's Hillard, being played by Kim Flowers. And I think, Elgin and Hillard, they do have a bit of a romantic relationship going on. Yeah. There's also Christy, being played by Gary Durden, if I'm getting that right. There's Vriss? Am I saying that right? Again, you know me sometimes pronouncing certain names and words. Him being played by Dominic Pino? I think that sounds about right, yeah. Basically, Vriss is the only mercenary crew member who is in a wheelchair. Yeah, he's in a wheelchair, and boy, because them lugging him, and because, well, at a certain point, he has to sacrifice his wheelchair, but more on that later. And I saved the two best for last. The last two mercenary crew members. There's Johnner, yeah, I think I'm getting that right, being played by good old Ron Perlman, and years later he would become Hellboy. Yeah, and you know, and Ron Perlman, he doesn't disappoint in anything, and I think he was pretty good in this. And also, and finally, there's Call. Call being played by good old Winona Ryder, yeah. And fun fact, because I read this, like, Winona Ryder signed up, and when she signed up for this, like, she didn't care if her character was gonna be killed or anything, and there's more to that with what she stated, but yeah, I think knowing Winona Ryder, I mean, she's a good actress, and I think she was pretty good in this. And something about Call, actually, I didn't even think of it, and because of her personality, but when we find out, something about Call, we don't know quite much, and neither does the mercenary crew, and also Ripley, when she meets and interacts with the mercenary crew. So again, the mercenary crew delivering these human bodies, that's their job, and again, the military taking in the bodies, and, well, with the eggs, the facehuggers, you know, getting attached to those human bodies and them being the hosts, and, you know, basically out pops the xenomorphs. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, the mercenaries have no clue what's going on at first. And also, for the clone Ripley, well, because again, she's like, her DNA being half human, half xenomorph, and she's very strong and, you know, and very powerful. And, like, there's, like, a couple of scenes where she's playing basketball, and the first time that she meets and interacts with the mercenaries, well, because, you know, Joner trying to take the basketball from her, but she's too good at just, like, moving it, and, yeah. And then at one point, because she throws the basketball, you know, not facing the, you know, the hoop and such, throws it behind her back, and it lands. That was real. That was real. Sigourney Weaver doing that backwards, yeah, she made her shot, you know, when she threw the basketball. And I think, yeah, because that was done in one take. One take. And fun fact, this comes from Ron Perlman. He stated that when that happened, after Sigourney made that shot, Ron Perlman, and this was kind of a dumb moment for Ron, I think, and he would know that too because of what he did. After Sigourney made her shot, well, because Ron was like, ah, and the crew and such, like, their skin just went white. I assume because, you know, of what Ron Perlman did, because that was a great shot, and, you know, they got it, and they did it in one take. They didn't have to reshoot it. They did it in one take when Sigourney Weaver made her shot with the basketball, and Ron Perlman just, ah! But luckily, when it came to editing the movie, they found a way, and boy, they were quick enough, like, right as Ron Perlman turns facing Ripley after she made the shot. Yeah, I mean, because a close-up of Johnner, and, you know, he's quite impressed with what Ripley did. So that's nice to see, like, yeah, and it works. I mean, they succeeded, and luckily they didn't have to do another take, because if they did, God, probably would have taken a whole day, like, because Ripley, well, the character of Ripley, because doing that with the basketball and Sigourney Weaver, she was lucky. Everybody was lucky that only had to be done in one take, but anyways. So, we also find out because, you know, Ripley had just been born, you know, her being taught, and showing, like, you know, cards and such, you know, what is this, and that, you know, a hand, fruit, and so on, learning English and knowing certain things, but, you know, no doubt about it, because her memory would all come back to her and such, having, of course, the mind and memories of the Ripley, and apparently we find out that, well, clone Ripley, it doesn't take her too long to realize, well, because them having the xenomorphs and probably doing the same thing like the Wayland Company. And I think the movie establishes that the Wayland Company, just went downhill. I mean, that's nice to hear, because, at a certain point, the Wayland Company just had to have to go downhill, and how everybody now felt about the Wayland Company, despising the Wayland Company, the Wayland Company going out of business, yeah. But little does Ripley know, because, early on, what exactly it is they're going to do, with those xenomorphs, the military, yeah. But anyways, so continuing on, because, the interactions between Ripley and the mercenaries, and the mercenaries spending time on the ship, and the name of the ship, that was the USM Urga, if I'm even saying it right, I don't know. But, of course it's a military ship, I assume, so, and interesting, USM, like, not USS, but anyways. And again, the time that the mercenaries spent on the ship, and their ship, the mercenaries' main ship, is named Betty, so, yeah, wanted to get that out of the way and such. And like I said, as I said earlier, Elgin and Hillard, they kind of have like a romantic relationship going on, I assume. Well, especially because we cut to... this was a cut, because cutting straight, seeing Hillard, like, relaxing, and she's kind of like moaning because Elgin is massaging her feet, I assume in a romantic way. Okay. I mean, that's their business, so, and the General, well, it doesn't fail. When it comes to the Alien franchise, once in a while we would always have a dickhead, and the General is kind of like that, yeah. Because there's a moment where he's, like, polishing his shoes, and also Johnner, Christy, and Call, they're watching a bit of TV, I assume, and Call, well, she's fascinated by Ripley, even when Ripley, says her name, because Call is well aware of the Ripley, and what Ripley did, 200 years ago, and her sneaking in, when everything's quiet on the ship, and her sneaking into, Clone Ripley's cell, and basically Call was gonna kill her, but, Ripley being quick enough, and just, sometimes, and especially in that sequence where just, it feels like, she's being seductive towards Call or something. Well, and like I said, that's nice to see that Clone Ripley doesn't really have the same personality as the Ripley, and that's what's important. And Call being well aware that, she had the xenomorph in her, and she knows, of course, that with the xenomorphs, and that the military have them, clear bad signs. Yeah, Call knows. So, yeah, Ripley, kind of like setting Call straight, and about the xenomorphs and such, and, then she tells Call to get out of her cell, and sure enough, should have seen it coming, where some of the military guys and Dr. Wren, they find out that, Call snuck into Ripley's cell, Clone Ripley's cell, and they suspect that, the mercenaries, they're on to something and such, but of course they have no clue, and of course they weren't going to do anything, but because of what Call did. Also, more on, Brad Dourif's character, because, again, scenes with him and him going over the top, and him interacting with one of the xenomorphs that's in its cell, just weird, just like getting up to the window and just like what, trying to kiss the xenomorph? I don't know. That's just what Brad does, him as the scientist. It's a bit strange, but, hey, it's Brad Dourif. What can you do? And there's a moment where he, pushes the red button, and, the cell that has the one xenomorph starts to freeze, and because a warning to the xenomorph, do anything, and just, and it never fails, because the xenomorphs being very smart and intelligent, and they know exactly, the xenomorph gets the idea now, if he presses the red button again, what would come again for the xenomorph? But then at one point, and when it came to the military pointing their guns on the mercenaries, thinking that they're doing something, well, we cut back to the scientist, and apparently because there are 3 xenomorphs in one cell, and apparently the 3 xenomorphs have something planned up their sleeves. Well, because one of the xenomorphs sacrifices itself, being killed. The two other xenomorphs start to kill the one xenomorph, and by doing so, well, the blood and acid coming from their bodies, we know, because it's one drop from the xenomorphs, like, burns like acid and can burn through floors and walls, and by doing so, well, it burning through, the floor of the cell, and, well, what the xenomorphs do next, and that's the start when all hell breaks loose on the USM ship, like, yeah. And of course, an alarm going off, it's all that interrupting the commotion that's going on with, the mercenaries and Dr. Wren, and yeah. And Ripley, of course, being aware of this, and her connections to the xenomorphs and such, and of course she knows that, well, the xenomorphs are gonna take over the ship and kill anyone that gets close to the xenomorphs. And sadly, for the scientist, meeting his demise, like I said, we don't get that much of the scientist Gaidaman, if I'm saying his name right, Brad Dourif's character. We don't get that much of him, and we do see him an hour later in the movie. So he meets his demise, sadly. And, well, by this point, all of the soldiers, the military, evacuating and abandoning the ship, getting in, escape pods and such. But the xenomorphs, they're not going to let them off that easily, because, well, one of the xenomorphs got in one of the escape pods and just killing all of those that are in that escape pod. The general, at one point, because he got up to that escape pod, well, letting off a grenade, throwing it, and it goes into the escape pod. The escape pod launches, and, well, he sets it off. And right after it exploded, he gives a salute, and yeah, he meets his demise too. Yeah, being killed by a xenomorph, and yeah, that's the end of the general. So, and by this point, there's not that many crew members left of the ship, and really all that's left are the mercenaries and Ripley. Also, at one point, we see that still, if I'm saying his name right, the guy in the wheelchair, we see that he was roaming around the ship, and I was kind of thinking, oh great, knowing him, is he gonna sadly get killed and such? But thankfully he doesn't. Boy, he was lucky, and when he caught up with the other mercenary crew. So, yeah, and because of what's happening, and them trying to escape at one point, well, because what are the mercenaries going to do? Well, yeah, them attempting to escape, get back to their ship. Also, Ripley. Well, she too escaping from her cell, and behind the outside of her door cell, well, because the xenomorphs coming after her. And by the way, almost forgot to mention this because this happened early on. Well, at one point, Christy hit Ripley with, like, I guess, like a dumbbell or something heavy, and, punched her with that, and, well, blood coming from her nose, but one drop of blood coming from her nose, dripping down on the floor, and, well, because I said that, well, her DNA is half human, half alien / xenomorph, well, her blood, also being like acid and burning through the floor. Yeah. And at times where, yeah, her getting wounded and so on, even when Call was attempting to kill Ripley, well, and the knife that she had, Ripley basically just put her hand through the knife, literally, jeez, and she felt no pain. I guess, she's not affected by this or something, and because she's a clone, I don't know, but anyways. So, her using some of her blood to escape, burning part of the walls of her cell, and, her escaping. And for the mercenary crew, well, because not all of them are together, even when at one point, Elgin, he found a couple of weapons on the floor, and I guess like following the trail, and I was thinking like probably he thinks it's, the one mercenary crew member in the wheelchair, but sadly, I think it was more of a trap because, well, sadly, Elgin, he meets his demise. A xenomorph coming from the floor of the ship and grabbing Elgin and killing him, instantly. And when the rest of the mercenary crew come to Elgin's end, lifting his body out of there, and them coming face to face with the xenomorph. Yeah, the xenomorph, coming face to face with the mercenary crew, them trying to kill it. And I think, they don't quite successfully kill the xenomorph, but someone below does successfully kill the xenomorph, and who could it possibly be? Well, Ripley, of course. And now she joins the mercenary crew, and Call at first doesn't trust Ripley, and knowing what the clone of Ripley is like. And there's really nothing else they can do, even there's no trust or anything, but they still have to stick together. So even dragging Vincent and Dr. Wren in this too, kind of like holding them hostage, and they know, of course, where to go in the ship and get to the mercenary ship Betty. Yeah, and like I said, they do at one point meet up with Varese, the guy in the wheelchair. So all of them are together now, and thus it's up to them to wander around the ship and get to the ship Betty. And to speed things up, because, well, at one point they Ripley, for that matter, she finds one human that seems to be all right, and if he's alive or not, and he then starts to panic, and he has no idea where he was, because, well, they come to one room where, they find some of the human bodies that were brought in as hosts for the facehuggers. Most of them, I think, probably, dead by this point. And one of them's still alive, and that being, and I know I mentioned him early on, but I'll still mention him, Larry Purvis, that's his first name, Larry, being played by Leland Orser, if I'm saying that right, yeah. So he has no idea where he is, sorry. Because, well, he came from a cryo tube, and obviously he comes from the past, and the last thing he remembers where he was at, and then as of now, where he's at now, just, quite emotional for him. And it turns out, they find out that he does have a xenomorph in him. And boy, he's lucky that he managed to stick around towards, almost to the end of the movie. Yeah, but until we get there and what happens to him, sadly. Now Larry Purvis is now joining them, and even though at any time, like, the xenomorph will burst out of his chest, now come to this, because one sequence in particular, and that intrigued Sigourney Weaver, and this convincing her to sign up and be in Alien Resurrection, because there's one moment where, well, Ripley senses something in one room. She goes in and she can see these tanks of clones, and it turns out these clones in these tanks, they are the failed Ripley clones. Yeah, because, I really think that this was pretty good, quite emotional, and for clone Ripley, and because, again, as I mentioned, she's Ripley clone number 8. Yeah, so basically her being the 8th and final clone that they successfully, brought to life after the first 7 Ripley clones, well, they failed to do so and such. And coming face to face with one Ripley clone that is active and alive, but boy, is she messed up, like really messed up how she looks, on, a table and such, and saying to the main Clone Ripley #8, kill me, like she's in pain and suffering, and she wants to be put out of her misery, and well, Ripley does so. Call does hand her a flamethrower gun. Nice to see that, still having those specific weapons, using it and setting that Ripley clone to flames, and as well as setting the other failed Ripley clones in the tanks, all in flames. Burning that room to the ground and such, and Clone Ripley just, angered by Dr. Wren and was this close to killing him, but Call, telling her just, don't do it, and she doesn't. And all that Clone Ripley says to Call, she walks off. Don't do what? But for Call, I mean, she does this for Clone Ripley, punching Dr. Wren in the face. Well, that's fair enough, but he still deserved it. I mean, they do need him alive because, well, knowing their ways through the ship and getting to Betty, so it would be a bad time to kill him. But again, him getting a punch in the face, still worth it. Also, to mention some of the other cast members of Alien Resurrection, there's one of the other scientists that was alongside with the main one, and she's just credited as the scientist. Marilyn Bush. There was also Soldier with Glove, being played by Rodney Mitchell. That one part where, the mercenaries, arriving on the USM ship, and they have to be checked and scanned. And when it comes to Johnner, because, asking him to, put his arms up, and, his response is, what? And, the soldier with the glove saying, put your arms up, please. So, yeah. And also, because Johnner, I remember now, because he did carry something and, was still able to bring it in with him. This metal cup or something, like his very own recipe, his, special drink or something. But something about that cup, because it's not just a cup. It's not just a metal steeled cup. It is a weapon. He can turn that into a gun. And Ron Perlman in this film and his character, and whenever he's in action and with his weapons, I mean, again, it's Ron Perlman. What more do I have to say? And not to mention, because he did most of the stunts, and also, fun fact, he almost drowned in one specific sequence, which now come to that, because, well, them still proceeding through the ship, and, well, because they have Wren under hostage and knowing the ways through the ship. Well, when they come to water, because apparently one part of the ship being flooded, and they have to dive and swim to proceed on. And also, Hillard, by this point, because, well, her being devastated over the loss of Elgin, and right before she dives down, she gets a bit emotional, but, she still got to do it and not lose the others. So all of them diving down, and it's impressive that, the actors, they managed to do their own water stunts. And Ron Perlman, because now I can mention it, because he almost drowned. Because I mean, especially since the characters, they were in the water for quite a while. And also, by that point, Vriss, the guy in the wheelchair, he had to sacrifice and give up his wheelchair, and now some of the characters, mainly Christy, carrying him, by the back and such, and golly, it's amazing he managed to hold on to his breath that long, and the fact that he was strapped on to Christy's back. Jeez. Christy, and sure enough, should have seen it coming, because two xenomorphs show up underwater, and Johnner, noticing the xenomorphs and using his gun underwater, shooting them, he managed to take down one. The one xenomorph explodes while the other one is perfectly okay. And should have seen it coming too, because Hillard met her demise, being pulled away and probably more than likely drowned. So that's the end of poor Hillard. And them reaching the surface, but it's blocked, and they kind of have to, like, basically rip it apart. Like, it obviously comes from the xenomorphs, but little do they know that it's a trap, because, you know, them trying to make it up to the surface, eggs surrounding that one spot where, you know, they pop out of the water, and Ripley realizing this, and yeah, sure enough, because, you know, one of the eggs hatching, and of course it's a face hugger, and goes after Ripley. It's on the clone Ripley's face, and yeah, getting back underwater and such. But you know, them still getting out, and they, you know, them destroying the eggs, setting off an explosion, you know, destroying those eggs. And still, them escaping, and, you know, they have to climb a ladder and to get where they're to proceed on to, you know, getting to the Betty ship. And at one point, should have seen this coming too. Ren betraying them because he's struggling to get the door open, and he asks Call to lend him a gun. And stupid of Call, because she should have known. She should have known what was going to happen when she gives Ren the gun. Well, he freaking shoots Call. Now, I knew before watching Alien Resurrection that, well, she's all right at the end. She survives. One of the last remaining survivors of the movie, alongside with clone Ripley. So, yeah, her getting killed, well, I knew that she survived, but, well, how does she come back? Like, what happens next? She got freaking shot, and she fell back into the water. What now? Also, things are not looking good for Christy and Vriss, because, well, the one xenomorph that pops out of the water, and also, thankfully, yeah, Ripley, she managed to get the one facehugger off of her, and she made it out of the water. Well, for Christy, he is, you know, getting strangled by one of the xenomorphs, like, grabbing him by the leg, basically. Even at one point, well, the xenomorph shot acid right in his face, Christy's face, burning like hell and such. But he still manages to, you know, recover from it, kind of, and how much strength he has. And by this point, Vriss, now he's the one holding on to the ladder, and Christy, well, he's got to do what he's got to do. He sacrifices himself, unbuckling the backpack and such that was carrying Vriss, and Vriss telling Christy not to do it. But also, good on Johnner's part, you know, because he was on the ladder, he went upside down, and he shot the xenomorph with the two guns he had. Yeah, that was awesome. And for Christy, again, him sacrificing himself, letting go, and he and the xenomorph going down in the water. So that's it for Christy. Yeah. And again, nice to see that Vriss, the guy in the wheelchair, because how far he's come. And thankfully, well, because when they all get up top, and a funny moment where Johnner, he gets startled by a spider in a spider web. Really? And, well, he shoots it. He freaking shoots the spider. Oh, jeez. Well, then after that, because, well, someone is opening the door, and they have their guns pointed. Well, could it be Dr. Ren? Well, why would it be? Because he obviously left them. He abandoned them, knowing him, and, well, still being evil. Well, whom opens the door? It's Call. She survived, and it's surprising to see that, yeah, she's all right. How did she survive? And like I said, I knew that before watching the movie, I knew that she survived, but how she survived, you know, from the bullet wound, well, assuming probably she had, like, a bulletproof vest or something, that's what Ripley and the others assumed at first. Well, Ripley finds out that, well, looking at her chest and such, and she can see, like, there's some, like, liquid goo or something. Call is a robot. Yeah. Should have seen that coming, too. I mean, I think I was a bit surprised when I watched it. Also, forgot to mention, because, Purvis, luckily he survived, too, because, you know, being in the water, underwater that whole time, and him climbing the ladder, well, nice to see that he still survived. Also, not to mention, one of the last remaining soldiers, Vincent, yeah, he's all right, and so far, he still managed to survive, and he too being left behind by Dr. Wren, so nice to see that, now joining the good side of the mercenaries and Clone Ripley. So yeah, them finding out that, Call is an android, having that milk/yogurt liquid stuff, because again, a mixture of milk and yogurt for the liquid that's in the androids, yeah. But the thing is, because Call, her personality, she doesn't really act androidish. Do you realize that? Because I did, so, but, still, her being an android, and they are, appalled by this. I think, yeah, that's the right word to say, just to use. And, at times, Johnner giving poor Call a hard time. Sometimes they give her a hard time, even threatening to, kill Call. But Ripley, yeah, at times she has Call's back, even when, she grabs Johnner by the face, getting his tongue out, and yeah, that was funny. Because early on in the film, the xenomorph that killed Elgin and Ripley, she killed that xenomorph. I think, she took out the tongue or something and handed it to Call, a souvenir. And hence, well, because, her threatening, taking Johnner's tongue as a souvenir. So there you go. And also, okay, and by this point, well, they're not having any luck now because, and because they lost Dr. Wren, he left them, well, having no luck, proceeding on, getting to their ship, Betty, but when they find out that Call is an android, well, it's up to her to, hack the computer system of the ship, get access and opening the doors and so on. And by the way, the computer of the USM ship being Father. And remember in the first Alien film, the computer of the spaceship Nostromo being called Mother? Yeah, this ship, the computer being called Father, and Father being voiced by Stephen Gilborn. Yeah, I think I got that right. And yeah, and when Call has access to Father, well, yeah, and when Dr. Wren, he's trying to make his escape, well, he has no luck, and he's not getting anything from Father, because, well, Call now taking over, and she alerts the xenomorphs that, yeah, Dr. Wren is on the run. So yeah, that's it for Dr. Wren. He meets his demise, and I think, yeah, we technically don't see it on screen, but we know for sure what would happen to him next. Yeah, any xenomorphs that are nearby him, yeah, they can feast on him and kill him. Yeah, so bye-bye, Dr. Wren. So now that Call has access, and now they can proceed on, well, because, yeah, and to speed things up, well, at a certain point, Ripley, she can sense something from, the floor of the ship where, yeah, she can hear the xenomorphs, and, well, they basically capture Ripley, and they take her. They take them with her. Yeah, they take her with them, I should say. And well, Call and the others, they still have to proceed on to the ship Betty. And when we come to Ripley, well, she's basically in the location where the Queen Alien is. And we do see the scientist, Brad Dourif's character, and boy, is he messed up looking, because what they did to him, he's all gooey and stuff like that, trapped. And basically giving information about, Clone Ripley and her being responsible, and the fact that Clone Ripley is technically the mother of the xenomorphs that are on the ship. Yeah. And also, yeah, because she gave birth to the Queen Alien and what the Queen Alien would do next. And at one point, we see that, and still, nice to see that the xenomorphs, they spare Ripley. Well, they know because she's responsible for them being born and so on. At one point, we see the Queen Alien giving birth to one specific xenomorph, a very interesting looking one. It's half human, half alien. Yeah, and the color of its skin, just, yeah, an interesting one. Cool design. I mean, once in a while, having a xenomorph that looks just a little bit different, you know, but still has to be a xenomorph and so on, yeah. But, you know, but the fact that it's, you know, it's half human, and because, like, you know, Ripley being responsible for this one xenomorph, yeah. And a shocking surprise, the half human, half alien, you know, turning and, you know, getting close to the Queen Alien, the half human, half alien flat out kills the Queen Alien and turning the attention to Ripley. Yeah, focusing more on Ripley and seeing Ripley as its mother and such. And even at one point, the half-alien, half-human going up towards the scientist, and sadly, he really meets his demise when the half-human, half-alien, like, crushes his head. Jeez. So that's the end of the scientist once and for all. And Ripley, attempting to escape, she successfully does so, and yeah, by that point, the last remaining crew members of, you know, of the mercenaries, they finally got to their ship, Betty, and those that have survived, well, Johnner, Varese, yeah, and still, Purvis, he's still doing all right, and also Vincent, yeah, he's doing all right too. Even at one point, Purvis was this close to having the xenomorph come out of his chest, but thankfully it did stop for now. But then, at one point, well, Dr. Wren pops up, and he has Call under hostage, and telling them to lay their guns down. Even, like, he asks and tells Vincent to get the weapons, but, oh, Vincent's not gonna listen to you, man, and, and Vincent just saying F you, and, yeah, because, you know, he did get betrayed by Dr. Wren. And what happens next is, well, the moment finally comes for poor Purvis, the xenomorph about to burst out of his chest, and what Purvis does is, like, charge at Dr. Wren, and, well, Purvis knew exactly what he was doing, and, you know, taking down the bad guy, just having Dr. Wren up right at his chest, and, well, when the xenomorph pops out, well, going straight through Dr. Wren's head. So both Dr. Wren and, sadly, Purvis, they're done for. Yeah. So then when Ripley finally makes it to the ship Betty, well, what happens next is they're having trouble, like, you know, really getting the ship Betty to start up, and Call has to check the engines, I assume, and, well, she comes face to face with a stowaway, and if it's not obvious, it's the half-alien, half-human, yeah, because it managed to catch up to Ripley and sneak its way into Betty, the ship that is, Betty, and, yeah, coming, you know, just, you know, Call is, you know, face-to-face with it, but even at one point, Vincent did go down to check on Call, because she didn't come back up to the main, you know, main bridge of the ship, and, well, sadly, Vincent meets his demise. Yeah, because the half-alien, half-human killing poor Vincent, who, again, because nice to see that he turned to the good side, and still getting killed off, jeez. And, well, Ripley, because, you know, again, she successfully got to the ship, and she has an idea, and, well, even Call figures it out too, so they both are thinking of the same thing on how to get rid and defeat the half-alien, half-human once and for all. So Ripley distracting it, kind of just, like, touching it and such, like, I don't know, seductively, whatever. And, well, a drop of blood from Ripley, like, flinging it at a window. And, well, because we knew where this was going, basically blowing out the half-alien, half-human right out of the window and into space, and that's what happens. The blood burning the window, and sure enough, well, because, like, a tiny hole, and, yeah, all hell breaks loose when, you know, the air is being blown out, and yeah, the half alien, half human, going straight to the window, and just his entire body just being crushed and, flinging out of the window and up until his skull, and just, yeah, very gruesome. Even Ripley and Call couldn't bear to just see that, the rest of it. Because, yeah, very gruesome. And, yeah, that's the thing, because the gruesome and bloody stuff that happens in this movie, well, never disappoints. And with the first 3 Alien films, in this, pretty well done. And with the practical effects from the Xenomorphs, the USM ship, yeah, just never disappointed with the first 4 Alien films. Never disappointed with the practical effects. Never. So yeah, that's the end and demise of the half alien, half human. And also, the USM ship, all that's left in the USM ship is just the Xenomorphs. And by the way, early on in the film, the ship was to make its destination to Earth. And the fact that, yeah, because the ship would bring back those Xenomorphs, and because imagine what would have happened next, to the poor citizens of Earth and such, jeez. But thankfully, well, and somehow, I don't think there was a self-destruct that was set, but overall, well, the USM ship, it meets its demise, and with the Xenomorphs, yep, it blows up, and it was that close to the surface of Earth, and almost like this nuclear explosion. I would think that, hopefully, the people of Earth and that one spot on Earth, they were, I'm sure though, lucky that they survived from that, depending on how close it was, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, with both the half-alien, half-human defeated, and with all the Xenomorphs on the big ship, yeah, all destroyed, defeated, once and for all ends well for our characters. And there's one moment where Johnner, he kisses Varys right on the mouth. I don't know, because a friendly kiss, I want to say, I don't know, but just, it is funny, I guess you could say. But yeah, and thus, well, they've finally returned home, and this is the first time in the Alien franchise we see Earth. Yeah, because in the first 3 Alien films, well, Earth being mentioned, but we never see Earth until the 4th, and, technically the final installment of the Alien franchise, and, well, Clone Ripley being a complete stranger to Earth, and, we are to assume as though, good things will come for our characters, and now that they've returned home, and yeah. And by the way, I have to mention this. The alternate ending to Alien Resurrection. I'm sure some of you probably know about the alternate ending. Because the alternate ending to Alien Resurrection, well, because, again, after the last surviving characters, the last remaining mercenary crew members, and also Clone Ripley, just 4 of them left. They survived. Well, they land on Earth, and they land in France. Well, I guess because, the director of this movie, him being French, Jean-Pierre Jeunet, I don't even think I'm saying his last name right, but, just Jean-Pierre, yeah, so, he's French, and yeah, he directed this, so, okay, so we are to assume, them landing in Paris because he's French and such, but anyways, when they land on Earth, and with one last bit of dialogue between Clone Ripley and Call, we see, and from what they're looking at, well, seen Paris, and apparently Earth is blown up. But what was the point? What was the point of that? That's a WTF ending moment right there. You know what I'm saying? And, and best said by Doug Walker, a.k.a. the Nostalgia Critic. He said it at best about that alternate ending in Alien Resurrection. Because what was the point? This is me talking. What was the point of that alternate ending? What does it amount to and such? Because, but it's nice to see that, well, because in the theatrical version, and from what we see, Earth is doing okay. But yeah, that was an interesting way for that alternate ending, because, that Earth is blown up, and as Doug Walker, aka the Nostalgia Critic, pointed out, like, what was this the prequel to Wall-E? It's kind of like that's funny, to think of, but yeah, but I'm glad to see that they didn't go with that in the final film, and what's in the final film, and from what we see, Earth is all right. That's good to see. So nice to see that Alien Resurrection, it ended on a happy note, definitely. Alien Resurrection, wow, just wow, like what this fourth installment had to offer, and what was going on, and yeah, and again, I don't think it's that bad. I quite enjoyed it, and yeah, it's not the best in the franchise. It's still, quite a train wreck, and again, because how after this the franchise would be put to rest, but years later it would make a comeback. The story I thought was not bad. The characters, and with the xenomorphs that are in this Alien film, the practical effects, the funny and emotional moments, the violence, the horror, the slashing, the gruesome stuff, yeah. Overall, Alien Resurrection, again, I enjoyed it. I won't deny that it's not the best, but I really feel, and as I said, it's not as bad as the third one, okay? And I'm sure you guys would agree too. And I'm giving Alien Resurrection, yeah, it's on my mind, I'm giving it 6 out of 10 stars. Yes, 6 out of 10 stars for Alien Resurrection. And what about you guys? What did you think of Alien Resurrection itself? Do you feel the same way as I do? Did you enjoy this? And do you think it's not as bad as the third one? Were you getting into what was going on in this fourth installment, what it had to offer, and with the story? Which characters did you enjoy? Were you surprised and shocked? And and with how you handled on the horror, the slashing, the violence, yeah. And with the suspension, just, yeah, overall, what did you think of Alien Resurrection? And with what I've had to say, my review, and yeah, what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Alien Resurrection. More review videos are on the way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video / review. And of course, continuing on with the Alien Review Marathon, well, 7 years after the franchise was put to rest, it would technically make a comeback. However, this time, what 20th Century Fox would do for the Alien franchise, well, not just Alien, but another big franchise from Fox that has to do with another Alien. And these two franchises coming together, and these two species of aliens going into combat. Yeah, I think you know exactly what it is that I'm talking about. Stay tuned for that. Take care, and peace out.